Greetings for the Kenai Peninsula Borough. My name is Brenda Alberg. I'm the emergency manager for the Kenai Peninsula Borough. And joining me today is Selena Robinson. She's a GIS specialist from the planning department here at the borough. And together we're going to introduce an online tool that's available to the public. We call it the Hub site, or the Hub. And the Hub provides resources for emergency response as well as for preparedness. It's a one-stop shop where you can find current information, anything from weather to the latest information on an area-wide disaster, such as a flood event or a wildfire. What you won't find here are those little elements that sometimes have to do specifically for a car accident or for slick roads. But what you will find is a shared, integrated, multi-agency hub that gives you the information you need during area-wide response or preparedness topics that you may find helpful. So join us together with Selena and I as we go over the Hub highlights, and hopefully you'll find them useful. So good morning, Miss Selena. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Brenda. I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, really, really well. Thanks for joining me today as we just share this hub that you created. Very excited about that. And you've been at this for a little while now. So I'm going to give you the reins, let you pop this up on the screen and share with us what you've been working on.
Okay, are we good?
We're good.
Okay, yeah. So from a GIS perspective, I was looking for a way to show some reliable and authoritative, more map-related data for incidents, and have a consistent place for folks to come, whether we are experiencing an incident or not, because a big part of what we're trying to push here is just individual preparedness. And so we're really hopeful that this page can help folks just with general awareness of how things might go during an incident and steps they can take to prepare. And so to start with, at the top of the page, we just have some general information. And then as you scroll down, we have some incident specific related pages. And once you go into each of those pages, we have maps with that type of incident related data. And what I've tried to do is compile them from authoritative data sources rather than trying to create everything on this end. Excuse me.
When you talk about that, you bring up a very good point that the basis of this was to help folks be that much more resilient from their own property, from their own home, to help their family and help their loved ones. And that's something that we do really well as Alaskans. Mm-hmm. And I love the fact that we were able to capitalize on that. And we themed it, if you scroll up to the top again, we themed it on the tenets of what's called the Ready, Set, Go program. And that is to be ready. We should always be ready at that level one, that regardless of where we're at, and we've got the boots in the truck, we've got the flares in the back, and we're ready to go if we go on an Anchorage trip, or if we're stuck in traffic for 4 or 5 hours, we have those snacks and games and anything else we need to make sure we're prepared. No different than if we're at that set level where there's an imminent type of disaster that may be nearby, that we may even have to do an evacuation, right? Or if we have to go to that go level, that level 3, that we are ready to go. We've got an action plan, we've got a place to go, we have people who can help take care of us, and we can leave with confidence and assuredness that we're taking all the right steps for an evacuation and then hopefully re-entry. So I appreciate the fact that you have introduced it from, as well as built it on those tenets of Ready, Set, Go.
Yeah, thank you, Brenda. I'll go ahead and take folks into a couple of the pages just to give an example of what information you might find in here. So this is our earthquakes and tsunamis page, excuse me. And so in this one, we have some authoritative data from the USGS, things like we have earthquakes events by magnitude. And so those are symbolized here on the map. I actually have them for the whole state, but you can go ahead and focus on the borough. And over here, I have set up a filter just, if you want to go in and see which earthquakes have occurred in the last 48 hours and where they're located, you'll see those ones filter out. and that's can be kind of just fun to look at. And then each of the USGS provides a little bit of data for each of those events, what magnitude they were and how deep they were.
So people can manipulate this themselves.
Right. Yep,
Okay.
it's interactive. Yep. And all of our base maps have some pretty general information. We have our latest imagery on here, location of schools and facilities like our fire stations. And what's nice about this is it's all of our authoritative data. So it's our streets and our addresses, our imagery, rather than relying on Google Maps, which isn't always current.
This is great because you're right. Having those local data sets really add that credibility.
Right.
It's very interesting when you live at an unknown street and you try to do a Google search. It's not going to happen. But you type in that name, that correct street address in our mapping, and you will find it. It'll go right to that place. That's
right. Yeah, and then another item that we've been working on with the Alaska Earthquake Center are some maximum inundation zones if a tsunami were to occur. And these boundaries are based on really extensive modeling that they've been working on. So we have that for various communities like Seward, Anchor Point, and Homer.
But this is helpful because those are based on science. It's based on mapping that was created most recently. In fact, I believe it was certified this last August for for Resurrection Bay, and then this fall for Kachemak Bay, as well as further up into Anchor Point. And that is what they're calling, the worst case scenario for those who have experienced the 69 earthquake or 64 earthquake and the tsunami. Certainly can attest to their ability to evacuate to higher ground in any one of those communities that were impacted.
Yeah, and I know their modeling is based on various scenarios, whether it's an earthquake or an undersea landslide. So they've really taken all sorts of things into account with that.
Culmination of recent events has certainly helped them expand the science and considerations. This is great, Selena.
Thank you. Yeah, and I tried at the bottom of underneath the map, I tried to, because we're so focused on ready, set, go and preparedness and then what to do during an incident and then afterwards, I tried to compile that same type of information per incident. And so we have, information in here about kind of how to prepare your home and build a 7-day emergency kit and bolt your sill plates to the foundation, just trying to compile any information that might be helpful to help folks prepare, because this is, kind of an eventuality in our area. And so might as well be prepared.
Certainly. And it's great tools for folks that are new to our area.
And so then, each page has the general ready, set, go, and then I do have the incident specific. And then underneath that, I tried to keep this pretty brief, but just provide some other, again, authoritative resources. And mostly for these agencies, it's their Facebook pages. And so I tried to embed their feeds into this page based on, for this, it's earthquakes and tsunamis. And so I focused on those Facebook pages. And then another couple things specific to this page, our Homer and Seward areas do have tsunami evacuation plans that they've got published. And so I've got these in there also.
Which is great. And as you said, these widgets, these feeds are coming directly from those sources. The borough is not manipulating these sources at all. This is coming from their pages.
Right.
Very good. Thank you for that.
Yeah. And another, another one that I wanted to show really quickly is the wildfire page, just because that seems to be semi-frequent event here. In the past, what I would have done is tried to spool up a new page and get that horribly long URL out to the appropriate people and then try to distribute that out to the public. And it can get kind of cumbersome, and it's not really the most efficient way. And so my hope is that folks know can be one of their sources if there were a wildfire event, because one of the layers that I have in here is from the Alaska Interagency folks, and they're pretty immediate with their fire information that they put out here. So if there were a fire start somewhere, it would be here within 24 hours, and you'd be able to go in and see what they've named it, the date that it started. And so then also if we had an event that lasted more than a day, another thing we would start getting from that agency is their fire perimeters for that day. And so you could come here to kind of see the extent that that's reached. And then also if, hopefully this doesn't happen, but if we were talking about evacuation, we'd start publishing some of that data to this map as well.
Certainly, and this is what's great is what we're seeing here, as you said, is for the Alaska Interagency. They are the source for fire activity as well as fire's history. So these perimeters that are here now, those are old fires?
Yeah, yes.
And old fire scars, okay.
Old fire, yep. You can see here's Old Swan Lake. Yeah, it's kind of nice to see the areas that have been burned, how recently. Yep, and then over here in this active fires, this is the layer I'm referring to that comes from the Alaska Interagency Center. And so you would see kind of a red X wherever there's a fire start.
This is great. And then what's nice about it for the public, as you were saying, should we have fires that we see growth that's now going to potentially impinge on values at risk, that we could have those what's called management action points where the ready, set, go lines would be established so people can understand what level of evacuation preparedness they need to be at and should be following the recommendations, not only on this page, but as we continue to work with each one of the communities over the spring, they'll have those resources available to them in their hometown as well for those that don't have internet. That I think this is outstanding.
And then like the previous page, I have some, again, authoritative resources here, like our Division of Forestry and then the Alaska Interagency Incident Management Team. During the summer, you'll see that page be very active.
Yes, that our incident management team is very busy throughout the entire state and very effective team, and have done some outstanding work in caring for our communities. And they also go out nationally when our fire season is done.
Yeah, so I'll take us back to the front page here and just share a couple of other components. One of those is what we're calling the newsroom. And so we'll probably always have KPV alerts up, and then we could have potentially 2, 3, 4 other pages depending on what might be happening. I can see, once we start talking about burning permits and things like that, we'll have Forestry's Facebook page up here. So this will be just an interactive part of the page, and always changing depending on what's happening.
That makes sense. I mean, something that is the most engaging ought to be populated at the beginning. Yep, agreed with that.
Yep, and then below is our usual ready, set, go information. And I really hope people take time to explore that. It's been really helpful for me to remind myself what things I have done and haven't done to get ready. And then another thing that I really like as a GIS person is we do have our authoritative data here ready to share, because I don't know if a lot of people realize, but when we have incidents, at some point, sometimes we will have folks come in from out of our area or out of our state, and they're always looking for our data. And so now we have a good, again, reliable, consistent spot for them to go, and they can come into the recreation point and find out where our campgrounds are. They can grab our streets, they can grab, we have our hydrant data out there, our parcel data, fire service area boundaries. And this will probably continue to grow over time. But it's a really nice, quick, easy way to to grab data, because there's definitely a really nice philosophy change about open data and having agencies provide that data in an open forum where the rest of us can get to it. And so we're trying to hop on to that train also and do the same.
That's great. And you're like something as simple as roads. People getting an understanding of whose road belongs where and why it may or may not be plowed. And
Right.
sometimes that can help offset some of the confusion too.
Right.
Very good.
You want me to stop sharing?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and grab it from you if you don't mind.
Sure.
And so can you see it on your end now? Where I'm sharing? Okay, great. So at the top, Selena also populated a couple other options for folks to go to, and that includes registering for KPB alerts. KPB alerts is our what we call reverse 911, where we actually will create polygons to notify the public of imminent danger or information that could be affecting an area-wide response that we want the residents to know about immediately. And that could be done either area-wide or to a specific designated area that we've created via a polygon. And all landlines are registered automatically. What isn't is mobile devices. So if you want your cell phone to be registered, we rely on the public to come to the registration page here called KPB Alerts to fill it out. And you have to create a login under whatever other platforms called mykpb.us. And this gives you the option not only for registering under KPB alerts, but for your voter notification as well. And I believe there's also the intent of expanding it for being able to be used for other type of services in the future. So certainly take a moment to explore this in addition to not only registering your own account for your reverse 911 notifications, but anything else you might think is handy in the future. So coming back to the site at the top of the ribbon, we have the OEM blog. This is an interagency blog that is active during an area-wide response. This is where agencies who are all the responders of a particular incident have access to this page, and they can provide their own immediate information to the public. It doesn't have to go through the borough. So when we're in a shared response, for example, the last time it was used was for the Lowell Point Road landslide in May, where agencies' information was put here. So obviously when the blog isn't being used, we remind folks that the blog is dormant. So while I won't spend a lot of time on those options, please take time to look at it yourself. As we had spoken a little bit in the very beginning with the tenets of this page being the Ready, Set, Go program, we also are really proud of the program's expanded outreach elements that are provided to the public. And that includes our program graphics to be in the Ready, Set, Go format, whether it's to plan and prepare or all the way to learning how to return. And I would love it if you have a moment to brew yourself something nice, hot, and cozy, and look at each one of these graphics, in addition to the recommendations of what you should be using for preparedness, for potential evacuation, and then, of course, if you are asked to evacuate. And each one of them are themed on the owl being wise and being prepared and always being alert. And I've populated the main poster. This poster you're going to hopefully be seeing throughout all of the communities, in addition to some of the other formats. We started here at OEM kicking off community engagement. We started with the Kenai Peninsula Fire Chiefs Association, as well as the local Emergency Planning Commission, who both entities unanimously support this program. We're really proud of it. It also provides spacing for our local municipalities to include their logo, as well as our tribal entities. I'm really excited that Seldovia Village Tribe was one of the first ones to kick it off with their local campaign, and just couldn't have been more happy to hear that. They shared that with me yesterday. The other thing of interest is that we're also looking at being able to apply Ready, Set, Go to several different types of incidents, from preparedness, where we're asking folks this spring to get your property ready to create that defensible space, and assisting with what those recommendations may be. Let me see if I can bring that up a little bit more for folks. From the planning to being aware. Down in the left-hand corner of all of the products is the QR code where folks can scan and immediately go back to the hub to look at the resources that are available for them, which we are sharing today. We also have one that is specific to flooding. Flooding, area-wide flooding does happen, and being prepared for that includes a lot of times whether you're sheltering in place, or even being able to know that you have to move things up from that basement to get it out of being potentially water soaked, which we certainly don't want to have to deal with in our cleanups, all the way to being able to have potable water, or making sure that those septics are not degraded as well. So lots of topics will start getting rolled out depending on the incident that are based on what essentially is the Ready, Set, Go program. We also have severe weather, which, because we didn't roll this, we really literally just got this campaign finished. We will be taking, and for those who are watching and get a sneak peek, that this particular graphic, while we're talking about severe winter weather, is actually going to be modified to talk a little bit about the spring weather, because for those of us who've been here for many years, we know that sometimes we get snow in May. Well, sometimes we get caught, dang it, in the middle of that highway, unprepared. And so the theme that you're going to be seeing rolled out here in the next couple of weeks is spring snow, that spring period of that still particularly could get people caught off guard. So just be looking for that. Moving down, I won't belabor the images by any means, but certainly want to celebrate the fact that each one of our levels of preparedness are highlighted individually. We have level one being ready, as we talked about earlier. All of us should always be ready, regardless of where we're at. Being in that ready state helps to lessen stress levels when we're asked to go to the next level, that level 2 set, where we're asking folks to start making decisions for folks who have mobility issues, or folks who have every single happy imaginable toy at their backyard that they want to get moved. They need that extra time. They might want to go ahead and get going during the level 2 set phase of evacuation. And then of course, level 3, as we've talked, it's a matter about going. Any thoughts of moving anything out of the house is gone. You've got to go now. And so that's where we hope that as this campaign continues to roll out during the springtime, that we give folks that sense of empowerment, that they can make those decisions and be prepared now. So let's go back up to the top. And I encourage people to please take the time to look at the community influencers tab for their own benefits, for their own engagement. So coming back to the main page, was there anything else on this that you wanted to talk a little bit more about, Ms. Selena?
Not necessarily on the page, but just I think we wanted to emphasize a little bit the color, you know, why green, yellow, and red.
Yeah, absolutely. Is this too big, or is it? It's
maybe if you could shrink it a little.
Okay. There
Yeah,
you go.
that's perfect.
I got excited about those posters, so I want everybody to see them. So one of the things that we talk about is, for public information, when we have an incident, we roll out what's called the PIO, public information maps, for the public to see the area perimeter that's being impacted, as well as what we call management action points. That is where the green color is going to indicate where folks need to be getting ready in line with where the perimeter of the incident may be. whereas the yellow line will indicate that next level of decision making. Should you be leaving now because of those mobility issues or because of those extra RVs that you got to get trailered out of your property? We certainly know that cows cannot wear seatbelts, so there's those livestock that we need to consider as well that may need to be moved during the level 2. And the reason why we went with red for go, as well as for the indication on the management action point, is that red line establishes that it's danger. This is a hazard. It's life safety. We do not want you in this area. And I think that that is significant when it comes to that stress factor where people are trying to make decisions, is knowing that red is danger. If you'll allow me a moment, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and shift to something else. If you want to go back to this, Selena, if there's anything else you want to expound on while I'm stopping my screen sharing, you get to it.
I'd like to just say we're definitely at the beginning stages of building this site, and as more and more of those authoritative data sets become available, if they kind of match up with what the information we're trying to get out there in the messaging, we'll be adding that to these maps. So this will be evolving over time. Mm-hmm. It's kind of exciting because we finally have a good landing spot for it all.
Agreed. Completely agree. Right. So bear with me as I navigate my page here where I wanted to share an example. So what I'm going to share with you is a map that was generated for Swan Lake Fire, and I'll share this map so we can get a good example of what those management action points look like. So on the map before you, you can see ready is in green. So that as the fire perimeter started moving to the west or over towards the east, folks had the time to make the decisions they needed for what level of evacuation they were in. For Sterling, the fire perimeter never did go past the ready line, but it was a good indicator for individuals to be prepared, to understand where they needed to be in relation to doing their part for fire management. And then, of course, here on the Cooper Landing site, as the fire did continue to move east-southeast, there was a lot of the community who did elect to evacuate during the set because of where they were in relationship to the fire. We have one way in and out of that community, and it also gave them that extra time they needed depending on their mobility issues or where they were in some of those small ancillary roads up into the mountains itself. So this is a good example of the Ready, Set, Go program and the colors that are being used and why it's important. Did that help explain it?
Yeah, yep. I think the colors are really intuitive, and I think it really helped get the message across quickly and efficiently.
Agreed. All right. Well, with that, do you think we've missed anything? Is there anything else we want to close up with?
We'll think of it later, probably.
Probably so. So for those who were willing to stay with us this long, and hopefully we're able to find the benefit of the hub, please feel free to share it with folks. We're going to put into the narrative the address, which is info.kpb.us. And also we'll be monitoring comments so that we can address any questions that the viewers may have.
Thank you, Brenda.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time, Selena. This is an outstanding project or product that you always deliver. I appreciate it greatly. Yes, and it's been fun working with you. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye-bye.